There we go.
Hello.
What up? It made it. It worked.
Yes, finally we got you in. Awesome, awesome. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
We're
We're doing really
great.
well. Thank
Super
you so much for
excited.
joining us.
Absolutely.
Super excited to be here.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Where are y'all at again?
We are
Orlando, Florida.
Yes, we are in Orlando.
Okay. Okay.
And you?
LA.
LA, of course.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, this is exciting. We are both huge fans of Greenleaf. I want to say first and foremost, you do a fantastic job on the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I want to start by asking you, how did you first catch the acting bug? How did you first get into the acting industry? What made you say, I think I want to act. I want to do that?
Well, a couple of things kind of happened, and it wasn't like a directly I wanted to be an actor. I originally was pursuing music, and when I was in college, I lived in San Diego, and I knew a few friends that were kind of into acting, and then one friend in particular had started working and was on a show. And I never really saw myself doing that, but I also was kind of like, maybe that's something I could do, you know?
Yeah.
But then I entered the world of modeling at just at 24 and started seeing it. Like I started seeing friends of mine that were on castings with me. They would be on soaps, or they'd be on like CSI Miami, or they'd be on, you know, something on the CW or whatever. Yeah. And it wasn't until I saw a buddy of mine, Russell, on this show called Playmakers, which was on ESPN for a little bit. I saw him and I was just like, it just floored me, because I was like, wow, like this is like somebody I grew up with, and I knew, you know, we went to high school together at the same time at different schools. And I was like, wow, that's something I could get into. I was into plays when I was younger, but I was more into like the performance side of music. So it kind of evolved from that. I still have it. As far as part of what I do, but it was that kind of like got me into it early on.
Awesome. Well, that's actually pretty cool, especially hearing the fact that you started around the age of 24, because a lot of people don't feel like they can get into the industry or into modeling, into acting past the age of 20, 21. You know, they feel like they're too old to go for their dreams. And seeing someone like you who is so successful in the industry, you're really doing your thing out here. You started with music, then you transitioned into modeling, and now you're Nowell. Like you're amazing. So I think that's super, super encouraging.
Thank you.
So absolutely. How did the role of Nowell come your way?
Well, it was the almost like the typical way of getting an email from the agent and saying, hey, we've got this audition. Kim Coleman Casting wants to see you. They've seen you for a lot of other projects. She really likes you. She thinks you're good for this role. Check it out. And I remember, like, I got the script, and I was just reading. I got the sides, which is just one or two scenes, and I just remember like, oh, I got this dude. Like, I know who this dude is. Like, whatever. Like, I wasn't coming in unsure of if I could do this character. I was really, really, really confident in it, and I also knew, like, with bigger projects comes, you know, bigger talent per se. And so I was seeing people at the casting, like I said, I know who that dude is, I know who that guy is. But in my head, I was like, well, you know, so
I got it.
Yeah,
I'm
like
gonna
that.
I'm gonna do me as hard as I can, and I'm really going to have a good time with it. And if I can recall, like I don't really think I did a lot of takes. It was one of those where we went through it. She gave me a note. We went to the second scene, and then she was like, "Okay, cool. You know, we'll, you know, thank you. We'll, you know, we're gonna show it to production." Yeah. And then it was a while, because that was in, I want to say that was late July, early August of 2015, and I started my first day of shooting on October 29th. So I didn't find out that I got it until like the last week in October. So in between that, there was a lot of like, well, what happened with this and what happened with that?
Right.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, they were like, well, it's still in the works. So, you know, just be patient and, you know, focus on other stuff and all that.
Do you remember what your reaction was when you found out that you had been cast in Greenleaf?
Hell yeah. No, you know what? I do remember because I was on a hike, and I'm just gonna charge up my phone while I'm talking to y'all so it doesn't lose its life on me. I used to live really close to the Hollywood sign, and at the time I was actually on a hike just right below it. So I was literally walking around in the quote unquote Hollywood Hills, looking at the Hollywood sign, and then I get this call saying, hey, they're considering you for the role. You know, can we work out the details, blah, blah, blah. And there was a couple of like, okay, call me right back. And I'm sitting there like, I'm really in front of the Hollywood sign right now.
In this moment.
And this is happening.
In this moment, it's happening.
You know, this is really my life right now. So it was cool. And then when they were like, okay, you got it. And then they were like, okay, you need to be in Atlanta tomorrow.
Wow.
And
Tomorrow,
I was like,
the next day.
Well, can they wait? I mean, this was like, I'm thinking it was like maybe like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And so I'm thinking like, well, wait a minute, like the last flight out of LAX is 5, maybe 6 o'clock to Atlanta. So I'm like, no, I can't. But I mean, I can get there, you know, Thursday and make it, you know, work on Friday, whatever. And at the time our son wasn't born. So it was really just a matter of me getting there. So once I got off the phone, I was like, I mean, and you obviously you don't know 4 years down the road you're going to be still working on the same project and all that, but it was like, okay, this is cool. You know, I'm gonna, you know, I'm working. I kind of start with that like as the baseline. So everything on top of that is just, you know, a bonus. And sure enough, there were a lot of bonuses. I mean, that the first person I met when I got to set, the first person I met was Keith David, and then the second one was Lamont Rucker. So it was like, it was bonus. You know, and me and Keith are still cool to this day. I just talked to him on his birthday. Trying to get this phone stood up. So there was a lot of bonuses in that.
That is a blessing, honestly.
Yeah.
That's a blessing. Do you remember who was the first phone call after finding out that you got the role? Do you remember who you were like, you'll never believe it, but guess what?
Oh, yeah. You know, I think, God, I mean, now I said I do remember. Now I'm trying to think about it. I know I called my husband and I know I called my mother, but I don't remember which. Oh, you know what? It was my husband, because we have friends that live in Atlanta that I was like, hey, can you call them and see if I can stay with them?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
For 8 months. Because I got to get my stuff together and I got to get to Atlanta like now. And so we made the calls. Everybody was like, yeah, cool. And so, you know, I was there. Literally within 24 hours. I was on a flight, and
the rest was history.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I'm really glad that you got the role. I really couldn't imagine anybody else playing that part. You do it so effortlessly. Again, we're huge fans. I love the show. I know that you can't give away too many details about the upcoming season, but can you give us a little bit more insight into the relationship between Noah and Grace?
Grace,
yeah, actually I can. Their relationship was very, it was simplified when season 1 starts. And by simplified, I mean it was like, she left, I stayed, I started a new life, she comes back, and then we start. And so it gets complicated. And I think in season 4, when we have our interactions, it's kind of leaning back toward that complicated stage, because now she has to determine how she wants to approach raising her now son and daughter, and how to incorporate the church, and how to keep her family, her immediate family, her sister and everybody else, keep them kind of going in the way that she kind of leads her family. And then now I'm coming back, and I'm not happy, you know.
At all. You are not. You have every right to be unhappy.
So our relationship begins to get very complicated. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that was a really great description without giving away too much. I think that we'll definitely be tuned into next season, because I noticed that you're going to be playing a much larger role in the upcoming season. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah. I'm anxious to hear the reactions, but also to hear the predictions as the story unfolds.
Yeah, I have my own predictions.
Yeah, me too.
So you're working with a lot of legends on Greenleaf. Lynn Whitfield, who is, oh my God, I think she's like Black Hollywood's darling. We love her. Keith David, the list goes on. What has that experience been like for you?
You know, it's been wonderful, and it's also been kind of a hands-on like lesson in how it works and how you stay working. There's plenty of stories of how actors can start a career and have, you know, a great run, so to speak, and then you never hear from them again. And then you meet and work with people that have been working literally since your childhood. Like I remember watching The Thing and watching, what was the other movie? There's a movie with Denzel Washington and Lynn Whitfield that takes place in the 80s at a school in LA. And like, there's all these other things. And I think like, how did you know? And even Greg Allen, he's another one who's been working forever. And they're, you know, they just kind of drop little gems here and there. But what I take in as the bigger lesson is when you carry yourself a certain way and you determine that this is what I'm doing. It's not like I'm doing this and then when I have to fall back on, you know, hanging cabinets or putting up wallpaper or installing cable, I'm gonna go do that. Like, this is what I'm doing. So if it's a big job or a little job, I'm gonna knock it out. I'm gonna make sure that I exceed expectations and I also create a character that's undeniably me. Then I'll be on something after this, you know what I mean? And I remember talking to Keith about a couple of his projects, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm really talking to Keith David right now.
I mean, amazing. That's mind-blowing.
Absolutely. And it's like, he's not talking down to me. He's literally, we're just having a conversation because he's that genuine and that open of a person. And I feel like, you know, obviously if he wasn't feeling it, he wouldn't have engaged, but he's that genuine of a person. So it's really kind of like a master class on a daily basis when you see, you know, if he has, I'm kind of going on about Keith, but I remember like if he has one or two lines, he makes you feel those one or two lines.
Yes,
I mean,
yes. He is powerful.
Even just the voice by itself is just
oh yeah.
Such a presence. Such a presence.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you learn how to create your presence and how to take advantage of it, because everybody has it. Like even you know, the scenes that Deborah Joy has, she has a couple of them that are really powerful, and also Lovey and Desiree. Like they're powerful actors, and I tell them, like, if I'm ever on set when they have an emotional scene and they knock it out, like, I'm the first one to be like, yo,
you did that.
Whew.
Wow, I felt that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think the Greenleaf fans, not even think, but I know the Greenleaf fans were like, you know, very saddened when we found out that this would be the series finale.
Yes.
But we also found out shortly after that there's going to be a spinoff of Greenleaf. So can you like let us know if there's going to be more of your character on the spinoff? Like,
well, you know, I honestly found out everything that you have found out because I got the email with the videos to post, and so and I generally will watch them before I post them, and so when I watched that one, I was like, and then I was like, wait a minute, like, so what's gonna happen? So I honestly don't know yet, and I could speculate in any different direction as far as what's going to happen, but I'm just going to be as surprised as you are, but I have a feeling it'll be wonderful because I do know of a few of the writers. I've met a few of the writers personally, and they do a phenomenal job of creating this story and creating this world.
I love that.
So for many people who don't remember you from a series, you were on a a great series for the LGBT community called Noah's Ark, where you played Guy.
Yes.
That's also where I remember you from as well. to this day, there has, with probably the exception of Pose, there really hasn't been anything on TV quite like it. How does it feel to have been working on that set?
It's actually it's an amazing kind of a feeling, but it's also really empowering in a lot of ways, because I didn't know at the time, like I knew at the time what the show was and what it was standing for.
Right.
But given that there wasn't a Pose yet, and there wasn't, there's a couple other things, that projects that came out after that, Dante's Cove, and given that that was the first, basically all African-American cast,
Right.
an all gay show, it was the first, and it reached so many people that were in their teens trying to come out, in their mid to late 20s trying to deal with maybe being in a relationship with a woman that they had to like somehow exit. It was people's families being able to talk about a subject that was like, you know, they had this uncle, but they can't really talk about why the uncle always has a friend at the dinner. And so it was all these things. So while doing it, I was really more like focused on my work, but also, you know, caught up in having fun and all that kind of stuff, and doing a little bit of traveling, because we got to shoot in Vancouver for the second season. But looking back on it, you know, it does give me a sense of pride that I know, you know, I had a positive effect on people, and it's not just about the fame and the being recognized and being treated like a certain way, but it's like I've had multiple people come up to me that would tell me literally, like, I was in my teens, I used to sneak and watch the show, and I always thought that it was great because then I found the strength to talk to my parents, or I watched, you know, Wilson Cruz have his scenes, and I really felt empowered and unafraid to deal with people that I, for so many reasons, felt like I was less than.
Well, your character definitely stayed with us all these years. I mean, I mentioned some of my friends who were like, "Oh, I remember him. I didn't like him," or, you know, "Oh, well, yeah, he tried to take Alex's man."
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things I feel like, which is cool, is that if it stayed with people and people were like, "Oh, I hated him," like, okay, then I did my job.
Yeah, you did.
Then, you know, if I wasn't likable, then good.
Do you keep in touch with any of the Noah's Ark cast?
Yeah, actually I do. Doug and I became really good friends during and after the show. Rodney and I became really good friends. Jensen and I see each other. I think we have kids that are about the same age. But Daryl and I were actually friends like 10 years prior. So, and we don't see each other as much, but whenever we do see each other, it's all love. But yeah, every now and then I'll see him, and I'm trying to think of if I haven't seen Keith in a while. I haven't seen Christian in a while. But we all ended that show on pretty good terms. So whenever we do catch each other, either out in public or either on social media or whatever, I was actually at a casting, and Daryl and I were at the same one, and I don't even know who got it. But then also a neighbor of mine is an actor, and he's in a movie that Doug produced, and Daryl's the lead. So I ended up getting to see him work again, which is nice.
That's very nice.
Someone says we need a Noah's Ark reunion.
You know, if they could make it happen, you know, I know we'd all jump in. Or at least
that would be awesome.
That definitely would be.
All right, so I have a question. I actually have a two-part question.
Yeah.
I want to know, as far as just being in the industry, what inspires you to keep going? What motivates you to keep going? And then the second part of that question is, who inspires you to keep going?
Wow. Okay. Good questions. First, the what. What inspires me to keep going is, I feel like at my most basic self, I love to create, and I love to, if it's performing something, if it's music, if it's acting, there's something that I've always done. And now seeing my son do these same things, I'm like, okay, that's it right there. He's But I love to create, and I love to help. I used to be a lifeguard, and I was a swim coach, and I taught swim lessons for a number of years. And I know that just that aspect of me helping and teaching and helping somebody learn something, I really do connect with. So there's projects that I watch that are purely for entertainment, like let's say Iron Man or you know, or Thor or Captain America. I'm like, wow, these are great, da da da. And then Black Panther comes along, and I'm like, okay, there's the entertainment, but then this is a very, very, very powerful message wrapped up in a bow and presented to the world. And it just blew my mind. Like, I was like, this is it. Like, this encapsulates, you know, why I want to do it, who I want to work with, how I want it to be presented, the grandeur of it, the you know, the everything. And then as far as who inspires me, it does go back to my parents. Both my parents are still in my life and very proud of what I do. They approach it very differently, but also my husband and my son.
Of course.
You know, they you know, my son, for the first time when I was shooting this current season, I got a video and he's like, "There's Dad on TV," and then he's like 2.5 or 3, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" And outside of that, then in the acting world, there's a bunch of actors, and I mentioned him earlier, Russell Hornsby, who I still, you know, we communicate at least once a year. So, you know, he's busy and I'm busy, so, but we still have a friendship that I respect. But I watch his work and I see, you know, The Hate You Give, and I see 7 Seconds, and I see Fences, and I'm just like,
oh, brilliant.
Damn, like this dude, you know, and he's still, to me, the same guy that I knew and the same guy that I talk to when we talk. And, you know, we have a good, I have a healthy respect for his work and him as a person. And there's a few other actors that I think Lance Gross is dope. We happen to, he went to the same high school I went to. I graduated way earlier than him.
Okay.
But I'm always proud of people that are from Oakland, because that has a certain, and then that comes back to Black Panther, because you got Ryan Coogler who directed it, and, you know, this whole Bay Area thing. So I get a lot of inspiration from that. I get a lot of inspiration from music, and sometimes art, but generally it's the people and sometimes the projects.
Who are some of your favorite artists?
Music-wise? Music-wise?
Yes.
I would start with Prince. Everybody who knows me knows my collection is ridiculous. Yeah, and I'm a hip hop fan from my DJing side, because when I started all this, like, my first creative outlet was DJing. So I have friends, if you've heard the song 93 Till Infinity and you know who Hieroglyphics are, or Souls of Mischief, I'm friends with a few of those guys. Tajay Massey is one of my buddies. He's an insane lyricist, an amazing showman. And I would say, Prince. I would say Souls. I'm a huge MC Hammer fan for so many reasons.
Wow.
So many reasons.
What's the number one reason?
What's that?
I'm just curious. What's the number one reason?
Number one reason, he still can do it. And he's 50. I mean, I just saw him in concert last year, and I got up on stage. I'll post the video. I got up with all these other people. But he's one of those people, like, he started, and he hit the huge mountaintop, like, that nobody else could fathom at the time. And then he went through the things he went through, but he's still able to tour and still able to play, and let's get it started, pump it up.
Yeah.
They put me in the mix, like, and then Uptown 357, like, all of those.
He did have some classics. I gotta give it up. To him. I saw that someone asked, I think Merle fans asked, how many instruments do you play?
Oh, how many? I play, let's see, guitar, bass, drums, piano, and then vocalist. So that's an instrument. So that's 4. That's 5. But yeah, self-taught on guitar, bass, drums, and piano.
Self-taught. Very talented. Very impressive. So I would like to know, there are a lot of popular shows out today: Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, the list goes on. And I'm sure on your downtime, you like to kind of indulge. Are there any shows that you watch and you're like, man, I would love to be a part of that cast?
Yes. Yes. Great question. I'm a huge fan of, I like the show Bosch, shot in LA. If you watched the first and second season, Anna, who plays my fiance, is on it.
Yes.
Yes.
And
I love
Just-
her.
Deji, who
She was on
plays, yeah, and Deji, who plays the cop, I think he plays a cop on Greenleaf, is a cop on Bosch.
Okay.
That's
So I'm a huge
right.
Bosch fan. Without a doubt, Luke Cage, like that's one of my favorite Marvel shows. Like I watched that and was like, Mike did his thing.
Yeah.
The way they shot it, the way it was scored, the way that they titled all of the episodes after Gang Starr lyrics, like I thought that was just
that's phenomenal.
one of the dopest things. I really like the show Bloodline, and I liked Bloodline was it takes place actually in Key West.
Nice,
And,
Florida.
Yes, and Sissy Spacek is the lead. For so many reasons, it was a very different show, but it was very like dysfunctional family dark. And then
I like those.
Yeah,
Those
and
are
then Ozark. Ozark
Ozark
I hear
is
great
so
things about
good.
Ozark.
I guess you know what? I'm being honest. I'm not brown nosing here, but I could honestly see you as a part of that cast. Like you could be a part of that show. Like they could write you in there somehow. I could see that.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they actually, interestingly enough, they actually shoot on the same soundstage as Greenleaf.
We might need to start speaking some things into existence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So I'm curious to know what so far has been your favorite role. I mean, you've had a few. What's been your favorite part to play?
You know, I gotta say, because I'm not too partial to any one role, I will say that Noah on Greenleaf has been my favorite. Because it's for a few reasons, but mainly because it's been the most I've been able to explore in a character. Like Grey's Anatomy was dope, but it was one episode, and it was playing trans, so that was a whole new realm to usher that in. Noah's Ark was dope, but that was only 2 seasons, and the depth of the character was not as wide or as deep as this character. So I will say that Noah's been my favorite so far.
Been my favorite so far as well.
Are there any similarities between Noah and Benjamin?
Say that one more time.
Are there any similarities between your character Noah and Benjamin?
No. Yes.
That's very straightforward.
You know, I will say the one real big similarity to people that know me is I can be a very loyal friend, almost to a fault, but I can be, you know, the guy that's constantly like, how you doing, what's going on, is everything cool, blah blah blah, and fighting for you. And then the other aspects of his character that aren't really as me, maybe where he's dealing with the conflicts with Mac, or he's dealing with the conflicts with trying to figure out if he's going to go with his wife, or he's going to go with his fiance. I'm sorry, go with his fiance or go with his ex. But I feel like everybody has those types of challenges in their lives that they can draw on. But I will say the number one is the loyalty, because to my friends, like, they know they know they can call me. They know I can do what I can do for them at any given moment.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so I love to ask this question whenever we have interviews, because aside from celebrityism, I like to know, are there any personal passion projects that you're working on that you might be able to share with us?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I recently was able to release the first current music project that I have in 5 years. I released 2 prior. They're on iTunes and all that, but this was the first one under my own name. Okay. So instead of just like dropping some music and then it being like, okay, and it's gone, what I'm doing is I released 5 songs last month on an EP called 26 Letters. And then in 2 weeks, I'm going to release another 5 songs. And then every month for the next 3 months after that, I'm going to release another 5 songs. And then at the end of it all, I'm going to release it'll be a double vinyl, because I'm actually going to get it pressed. Full length EP or his full-length album called 26 Letters, the Super Deluxe, and then there'll be 5 extra songs that aren't available anywhere else. It'll just be on the vinyl.
Sounds like we're going to be getting a lot of music from you. This is going to be a consistent thing. That is awesome.
Yeah.
What does the title of that album or EP mean to you, 26 Letters?
26 Letters, that's a good-ass question. It came from the idea that I was thinking of one night. I was like, you can have all 26 letters lined up. Mm-hmm. And in those 26 letters, it's almost like the keyboard is 88 keys. Yeah. But in those 88 keys, you got millions of songs. And in these 26 letters, you have millions of words that mean so much to different people.
That gave me goosebumps. that gave me goosebumps. That's beautiful.
Nice. Well, yeah. So that's what it is. That's what it came from.
I love that.
Yeah. And if you look it up, it's under my name, so you can actually look it up. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. It's everything. It's already up, so you can check out the first 5 songs.
Awesome. What would you classify your music as? What genre would you say that you fall into?
I would say it falls into R&B funk.
R&B funk.
Yeah.
That sounds like a new genre.
That's one of my goals is to actually have that as a genre that pops up, because right now you got like old school R&B and you got R&B, you got contemporary, you got pop. So that would be dope to have funk because there's a lot of funk artists. It's not just me. There's a lot of funk artists. So.
Well, we definitely want to hear some of it really soon. So.
Oh yeah, and I'll send you some links. I didn't realize that once it does go live, it created its own YouTube channel. So if you look me up on YouTube under my name, Greenleaf interviews show up, all these other clips show up, and then this music shows up too.
That's awesome. I love that you're putting your music out there a little bit more for us. Yeah. I think like once we get to learn that some of our hugest, what's the word I'm looking for? The actors that we're huge fans of, for lack of a better turn of phrase, have these other talents that you don't know about. It's so exciting, and we love that. So thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, absolutely.
I see a question. Somebody says, "Can I twerk to funk or not?" And the answer is yes.
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 I love that question. Absolutely. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Something I can twerk to, Benjamin.
So, and like honestly, I'm literally like, I'm gonna have to write a song called "Can I Twerk to Funk?" Or not?
Oh,
you heard it first. You heard it here first.
Please do.
I'm gonna do that because I think I'm gonna just find the sickest song that I've known to be like some twerk music, and then I'm gonna just play it.
Yeah, I'm ready. Like Tiffany Haddish says, she ready. That sounds amazing.
Nice.
Do we have any more questions from the fans? Let's see. I saw some good questions kind of popping up while we were chatting.
Yeah, I'll scroll back a little bit and see if I can find. Let's see. You were on track. I appreciate that. Thank you. There's a lot of people on here. But really, how did Ben feel about Kevin's storyline and his character dealing with his sexuality? That's a really good question.
That's a great question.
That's a great question. I thought his storyline was very accurate and a wonderfully uncomfortable sense. Like Kevin's character was so many people. It's like he's got a wife. The wife has the prestige, his family, and they've got all this money and power and all these things going on. But inside, he's got this thing to deal with that is just growing. And then he starts to explore it a little bit, and then that becomes an issue. And that's so many people's stories, men and women. That's so many people's stories. And I thought it was, and same thing. Like I told Ty on a number of occasions when I would watch, because if I didn't work with him, I didn't see his episode. So I didn't see it. I didn't see it until it was on TV. So the episode where he's at the dinner and they're trying to figure out, like, he's like, well, what are we doing here? Why are we doing this? And he's kind of tiptoeing into the waters of like, do I mess around with this guy over my wife? I called him and told him, I was like, dude, you played that.
Yeah, wow. that scene was pretty powerful. Yeah, like
and then him dealing with the wife and wanting to be with the kids, like all that, and it's all very true. Like I've seen that unfold. So here again, I think hats off to Greenleaf and the writers and creators, because they're hitting these notes that are so real and so important to people, because maybe that does give them the map to get through it. You know what I mean? Some people just go, you know what, squash it. I'm just going to divorce my wife, and I'm going to hate everybody, and nothing's going to. And it's like, no, you can find a way.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, so.
It's really authentic, because honestly, in a lot of real life situations, something, you know, that you could never imagine happening in your relationship, where you would think this is it, our relationship is over, it's blown up. You still sometimes decide to stay and see if you can work through those pieces, you know. And I love that Greenleaf really showcases what it's like when you do decide to stay, and it shows the parts of what happens when you are working through those pieces. So I think that was a really great question.
And I think they just also did it tastefully. Like, they could have went so left with it and made people, you know, react harshly to his character versus how they did react to it, and they just made it, like you said, discomfortable, but also made it meaningful as well.
Yeah.
So.
That's a really good question. Besides Noah, who is your favorite character on the Greenleaf cast?
I did see that question. Besides Noah, who is my favorite? You know, I think it's kind of a I want to say Deborah Joy's character, Charity, because she goes through it on so many levels, and maybe because I'm a younger brother, and I know what it's like to like vie for that attention or for that place. I also like Lamont's character, Jacob, because here again, he's vying for his father's love, and also to like stake his place and what he's willing to go through, and you know, his shady business on the side. Like, there's so much that gives both of those two characters so much depth and realism, but also it's entertaining. Like, it's unfortunate, but you want to see them succeed, but you also want to see how far they go down that hill.
Crazy, dark, twisted road.
Like when I saw Deborah Joy punch the vending machine.
Oh my gosh,
wow. That was so intense.
Like, she went there, but I was like, but when she was acting like she was high off pills, I was like, yeah, okay, you're really there. You are really there.
And I love that the writers, they really give room to, like you said before, allow you the opportunity to create that presence, and then leave it there for us to just sit with and just be like, man, even after the show, even after a few weeks have gone by, you're still thinking about that one scene.
That scene was
you know, I love that.
Yeah, I think also any exchange with Lady May and Carissa is also has to be noted in this conversation.
Like there's some, like, I try not to go, and then there's this and there's this and there's this, because there are so many of these gems. Like, I mean, even Uncle Mac in the second season, he was just like the most diabolical person.
I wanted to put my hands around his neck. Like, I was so glad. I don't want to give a lot away for those who haven't seen it, but I'm telling you, it's definitely worth the watch. I think Lady May is my favorite character.
Just the way that Lynn Whitfield
her tongue is a lethal weapon. It is so sharp. I would never dare cross her. Ever.
I was fortunate enough. Season 1, I had a couple of scenes with her, and I remember just kind of talking to her between scenes, and I was very happy to interact with her and kind of establish like a base, kind of a friendship to at least, you know, have a jump off of, to kind of get a gauge of where she's at with the work. And then there was another time where I was able to watch her do one of her long monologues. And when she got going, it was a couple of times where she got going, and it was just like, whoa, like, this woman, this is why she is who she is, and she has the awards that she has. And thank you and good night.
I think, do you have time for a few more questions? I see another good one. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome. So this one is from Merle fans. It says, what has been learned most from Noah?
What has been learned most? I think what has been learned most by Noah is when you have the tough situation, making the right choice and making the easy choice are never the same thing. You know, he decides to succumb to his passion with Grace, and he sees where that gets him, and it almost costs him everything. So the tough choice in that would have obviously been to say no, not go over to the house,
Right.
but then also, you know, learning about what happens with Mac and figuring like, okay, how do we really get this thing taken care of? Now it's like the right and wrong becomes very easy to navigate. So I think what he learns over the course of that part of this first season is sometimes it's very easy and cut and dry, and it's, you know, it's you and me versus the world, and then sometimes it's me versus myself.
Right.
And what do I want versus what's good for me?
That's not always an easy lesson.
Right.
No.
It's really not.
That happens daily, you know.
Every day. From even with small things.
Yeah.
It doesn't even always have to be on a super deep level, even with just little things.
Even when you have a 4-year-old that likes to like do things, and you're like,
it's like,
okay, do I go crazy and scream, or do I just relax?
Before we end, we want to. I personally want to know, what have you been doing with your downtime during the quarantine?
Okay, yeah, good, very good question. So as some people do know, as I'm also a photographer, those are two of my shots right there. Both are from Burning Man. Is I've been creating a coffee table book. It's called 100 Days, and this was, I want to say, 4 years ago. I went out and just took a picture every single day of wherever I was, no matter where I was, what I was doing, no matter where I was. And so I'm going to put that out. I think I'm going to go through Amazon because they can take care of all the shipping and all that kind of stuff. So I've been working on like keeping all my social media stuff, pretty much a catalog of stuff, from photography to music, and DJing, that'll be available to people that know and like the stuff that I do. So I've been working on a lot of music. I've been working on the photo book, and reading a good amount of stuff to keep me current. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you, Benjamin, for joining us.
Oh.
You've been awesome. Thank you for taking the time out to answer some of our questions.
Absolutely.
And thank you to the folks that joined us.
Yeah, everybody out there, I appreciate it. Follow me, obviously, here at Benjamin Patterson all day. If you're watching the replay, Twitter is just Ben's Just Creates. YouTube is Benjamin Patterson. Facebook's Benjamin Patterson. So people that message me, I'm getting stuff out to them. Every time I do a live mix, I send it out from SoundCloud so that they have it and they can listen to it.
Okay, that was my next question is your music. Where can we find your music?
Yeah, all the music is available. You can even Shazam it, which is great. You can look it up on Shazam. It's on TikTok. It's on Apple Music. Pandora, Spotify, like wherever music is streaming.
It's available.
It's available. Awesome. Yeah, and for the easiest, look it up on YouTube. Look it up on YouTube or look it up here. Yeah.
Awesome.
And hopefully we'll be hearing that song, that twerk song soon. So
don't
let
me down. Don't let me down. We're ready.
Yeah. Can I twerk to funk? Like I got it.
Can I twerk to funk? That's great.
I got my bass right here, so I'm gonna figure out something. I'm gonna figure that out.
When you figure it out, you make sure you tag us. Make sure you tag us somewhere.
Absolutely. No, I will absolutely. Y'all will be the first because.
Awesome. Well, again, we want to thank you for your time. I want to thank everyone who has joined us tonight. You heard Benjamin say it. Make sure you're following him on Instagram. That's Benjamin Patterson.
All day.
All day. Don't forget that.
Okay.
Benjamin Patterson all day, and you've been watching with Black Cinema Now.
And don't forget, Greenleaf does premiere on June 23rd.
Yes.
So we will be watching. Make sure.
Yes,
Make sure you
absolutely.
tune
Tune in. Tune in. All right.
All right. Well,
you
thank
have a
you.
good night.
Have
Thank
a
you
great
again.
night.
Y'all too. Talk to you soon.
All right. Next
Bye.
time.
Bye.